Shrouded in a moth-eaten cloak, with the hood drawn low over her face, Aria crept through the crepuscular streets as threads of silver fog unfurled in her wake. Her heart palpitated in her chest like a winged thing trying to hammer free of a cage. Tonight, she would infiltrate the very heart of the ghastly sect that had ensnared her friend. After weeks of tailing Liam through the city's mildewed underbelly, Aria had finally discerned a pattern in his furtive forays. Every new moon, he would descend to a moldering crypt at the heart of Grey Man's Hollow, carrying a bundle that reeked of grave earth and blood sacrifice. There, he would meet with other furtive figures, all cowled and oozing the same miasmas of delirium and damnation. Aria knew that tonight, under the unnaturally sanguine moon that oozed through the smog like a blood clot, the cult that she now knew called itself the Crimson Clave would gather to conduct their most profane rites, and she intended to bear witness. She followed Liam at a careful distance, every nerve stretched taut, every sense honed to a preternatural razor pitch. The fetid reek of the canal stung her nostrils as she descended a lichen-veined stairwell to the catacombs. Ahead, guttering torchlight spilled from a half-rotted door embossed with eldritch runes that made Aria's eyes ache. Liam knocked on the accursed portal, 3 slow, then 3 swift. It yawned open, and he vanished into the fane of profanity beyond. Aria drifted closer, like a leaf borne on a miasmal current. At the threshold, she hesitated, heart a roaring surf in her ears. To step across that threshold was to abandon all hope, to plummet into an abyss antithetical to sanity. But for Liam's sake, into the abyss she must go. Aria slipped into the crypt, joining the congregation of cowled cultists. In the eldritch glow of the chamber, she glimpsed details that seared themselves into her shuddering mind. The jagged obsidian altar, its surface engraved with a tangle of glyphs that burned like embers. The stone vessels burning with ichor so dark it seemed to devour the light. At the front of the chamber loomed a figure swathed in funeral vestments, tall and terrible, their face obscured by a crimson mask fashioned to resemble the aspect of some abominable entity. Aria knew with a bone-level certainty that this must be the avatar of the blood god, the conduit that siphoned Korzul's insatiable hunger into the mortal sphere. On the altar, something lay shrouded in a winding sheet, soaked with old blood. Dread coiled up Aria's spine as the avatar extended a corpse-pale hand, and, with a flick, stripped away the cloth. A piercing scream slit the air. A human scream, torn from a throat choked with horror. And Aria realized it was her own. For displayed on that slab of desecrated stone was a human form, and as the shadows shifted, Aria found herself staring into the face, the dead, milky eyes and rictus grin of someone she recognized. Someone who had disappeared from Aria's tenement under mysterious circumstances a week ago. Aria's missing landlady. Murdered. Mutilated. And now offered up to the Crimson Abyss as a blood sacrifice by his deranged disciples. Aria's mind reeled, darkness veiling her vision. She felt her blood roaring in her ears, drowning out the guttural chanting of the cultists. She wanted to scream again, to flee this fane of horrors and never look back. But she was frozen, as if the seething shadows had turned her marrow to ice. And then the shadows billowed, and a shuddering, elongated figure unfolded from their depths. A figure with a body that writhed with pulsing veins and dripping claws. A figure whose viscid crimson eyes pierced Aria like a sacrificial blade, searing through her mind and heart and soul. She knew viscerally, instinctively, that she was staring into the gaze of Korzul himself, or at least the fragment of his essence that the blood rites had drawn into this blood-anointed fane. Those red vortexes, bright as fresh carnage, bored into Aria, stripping her will and memories, peeling back skin and sinew and sanity until she was flayed to her keening core. In that endless, annihilating moment, impaled on the bloody gaze, Aria knew two things: that the Crimson Abyss saw her. It knew her in all her raw and shuddering totality, and that there would be a terrible price to pay for her trespass into this realm of sanguine shadows. Then Korzul's avatar stepped forward, black robes billowing. A blood-stained blade glinted in one corpse-pale hand. The other lifted, a single skeletal finger, uncoiling from a fist to point directly at Aria. Interloper. The avatar intoned, their voice at once a whisper and a scream. You dare to profane this hallowed rite with your unconsecrated presence. You who have not been anointed in the blood of the abyss? Foolish mortal, you have called the gaze of Korzul upon you. And now, you shall pay the price. At these words, the cultist's drowning chant rose to a keening wail. And as one, they turned to face Aria. Their eyes lit with the red rapture of bloodlust beneath their hoods. In their hands, blades dark with sacrificial ichor glinted like shards of midnight. They advanced, a noose of doom tightening like a fist around Aria's heart. And she knew that her next breath might be her last.